evening and welcome to another episode of Keefer's Korner here at Coach's House. And Dan, as always, how are we doing?
Hey, doing well.
Yeah, been doing this, 10, 12 weeks, something like that. But the longer we can go, the more fun we have doing it.
Without a doubt, this is great.
So last Friday, saw some trick-or-treaters and Halloween, and saw Platteville make the long trip up to Baldwin and take on the Blackhawks in yet another victorious Blackhawk game. I think it was an opening possession. It was a back and forth. We stopped them. Did we score at the first possession?
I think we fumbled on our first possession. We got right down on the doorstep, and we kind of had we just fumbled it. We just dropped it. It was an exchange on a read play, and ball was on the ground. That was our one turnover for the game. But we moved the ball. I thought, we moved the ball well. Definitely thought we played great special teams. I mean, Mason Flores kicks the ball well, and I thought our coverage units were really, really good. I mean, they were solid the whole game. I thought we had some nice returns. We got called for a couple of illegal blocks that hopefully we can learn from. A couple of them I didn't love the call, but I understand it. So yeah, I thought there was a lot of good stuff there. If I was going to look at people that played well, I thought Dane coming off an injury, I thought Dane played well. Joe Jensen had another nice night. We had a couple guys filling in on the O-line for some injuries. Lyle Larson, I thought both Lyle Larson and Big Mateo Garcia, when they got in there, I thought they did a really good job, especially running, in the run blocking stuff especially. They did a pretty good job there, which was good. We have a really nice balanced team where we have a lot of people that contribute, so that was really good to see. And of course, Mateo being a sophomore, getting meaningful time in a playoff game, I think is really huge for his development going forward. Defensively, I thought we played really good. And if Platteville was a good team that scored on everybody. They scored a lot of points. Now we gave away a couple cheap touchdowns that kind of turned my stomach a little bit, but it's not like that. We went into that game with the goal of making them not be able to run the ball. Their quarterback had rushed for 900 yards, and Tyler Sass, the running back, had rushed for almost 1,300 yards. That's 2,200 yards of rushing between those two guys, and we really made a concerted effort to make them not run, and we achieved that goal. I think they had 35 carries, whatever it was, for 80 yards. And that's really good run defense against a talented group. Like you said, we gave up a couple cheap touchdowns, on a little blown coverage, literally day two stuff, hey, you got a flat defender, you got a deep half defender, stuff like that. But those are things that you learn from, and you just got to, keep your basics, your focus, the main thing. So I thought it was a really good performance. That's a team that was competitive all year. They had lost 4 games by a total of, or 3 of their 4 losses were by 5 points total. So they lost a 2-point, a 2-point, and a 1-point game. So that was a pretty good. I think they were maybe even better than the record indicated. But we played really good offense, and I thought it was a really good team effort.
Defensive, I think one of the people that you mentioned in particular, but I felt like Hansen really kind of stood out playing in the position.
He did.
Seemed like had a knack, always there, all the ball carrier, really kind of bottling them up on that run game.
Yeah, I thought Brady played really well. I also thought Aiden Foster, who we've moved Aiden around many, many times, but I thought Aiden did a really nice job in a new position for him last week. He was very solid in the run game, and did some good pass drops, and then he had a little injury, so we kind of held him out in the second half. We had a couple of kids that we held out of precaution, and all the reports on those guys look pretty good, so that's a big deal.
Which is nice to be able to do when offensively it was started, like you said, with the special teams, both the kick return or the defense stop them deep and then a good punt returns or whatever.
Yeah.
Seemed like you're always on their half of the field, but when they just could not figure out how to stop the offense, it kind of really helps to hey, okay, let's make sure you're healthy for next week.
Mm-hmm.
And statistically wise, we kept talking in the broadcast, nothing like over the top, like numbers are going to be like, wow,
Right.
you know, for scoring 61 points, you'd think you had a 200-yard rusher.
Yeah, well, I would bet the statistics that would have really popped would have been the return yards. I mean, we had a ton of huge returns. I mean, I don't think we ever had a kickoff that was outside. I mean, that where we were inside the 40 to start. I mean, we had a couple really nice kick returns. So we scored on short fields. We had some nice punt returns. You know, one was going to be a touchdown, and then, you know, we got called. And that was a legitimate call there. I mean, we just, you know, the block in the back thing, you know, like a lot of times kids think if they're hitting them on the side, they're okay. But you're not going to be. You know, if your head's behind, if your head appears to be behind, even if you hit the kid on the shoulder, it's going to get called. I mean, and so we shouldn't be surprised at that. But that's great that those things happen in that circumstance. So if that happens again, hopefully we know, hey, we can't do that because that's going to get penalized.
And the nice thing too, it was right. The first kick return was Palmer. I joked because he caught the ball going left or right. He caught the ball in the top 30, came down to the bottom 30, and then went to that 30.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah,
just where is he going?
Yeah.
And then the next one was after a penalty on the touchdown, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kicking from the 45.
Yeah.
So of course
we had a hands team.
Which smart.
Yeah. And
they kicked it deep to Dane. Dane's almost like, well, I'm just supposed to get what I can. And all of a sudden, boom, wait a minute.
He's Trevor Murdoch made a nice block, and Luke Janke. I mean, they just playing football. Just, you know, we had Murdoch hit a guy this way, and Janke hit a guy that way, and there we go. We had a nice little gap, and you know, Dane knows what to do with it. So I mean, you know, just that would have been the big statistic would have been the return yards. And I don't know that right off the top of my head, but we had a lot of return yards, so that was big.
Yep. I would agree. And I think one of the big turning points would have been after we scored to go, I believe, up 10 was the Brody Everett's interception.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, deep in their territory again, kind of just read it over top of the middle, intercepted them, and that kind of just a deflator, if you will, for their offense, it felt like.
Yeah, we had a little eruption there in that second quarter, right? Because just all of a sudden and that broke it wide open. You know, we weren't at running clock yet, but obviously we talked about at halftime how important it was to get to running clock because, you know, we're trying to save wear on everybody. I mean, that's a lot of games, and, you know, that matters, you know, like to advance at this point, without a doubt, you have to, like I said, you have to be healthy, you have to be kind of lucky, and you got to be playing good ball, you know. So the more you can eliminate risk by having guys watch, that's great, you know. And if they score touchdowns late when the game's over, who cares? Doesn't matter.
Right. So it ends up being against 61. Was it 61-20? Is that the final? I believe
27.
Well, it was good. 27. Okay, so 61-27.
Yep.
I believe the third most points in Baldwin Blackhawk history. Okay. We had the 70, was it last year against Somerset or 2 years? I believe the top two were against Somerset, 70 and 64 or something like that. But fifth time scoring 60 points or more.
Didn't know that.
And 61.
I mean, it was weird, you know, we just exploded, you know. And then I don't feel like we were, you know, like by any means trying to run it up. We were putting, you know, other guys in and letting them play, but we got one late, and you know, that's kind of nice for those kids to score. You know, Colt Palmer had a nice run, and you know, there was a little part of me that was like, we could probably take a knee. You know, I'm not trying to rub it in, but then again, it's good for those guys to get some experience too. And
it wasn't like you're doing trick plays or like that.
Well, right.
And like you said, it's sophomores, it's backups, it's across the board that are out there that
right.
They've worked hard throughout the entire season.
Exactly.
And they get a chance and
let them play a little bit.
I don't care what coach says. If we don't like it, then stop it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
That's a different mentality. And I don't think anyone, by any means, again, like back to Somerset, we talked about after that game. But I don't think anyone thought that coach is running up or anything like that. So So there's that. So that did put a wrap on King Field for the season. I believe that was so we had 5 regular seasons, so 7-0.
Yeah,
King Field, that sound about right?
That was a great year. Great year.
I didn't look up the scoring differential, but it had to be very, very lopsided. It felt like.
Yeah, it was pretty good year, no doubt.
So then that puts us down in for D4, 8 teams remaining.
Mm-hmm.
4 1 seeds and 4 2 seeds.
Yeah,
are all battle of top 8, I guess, kind of almost as predicted, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
The way it shakes out, it has us distance-wise going to lacrosse to play Aquinas. So, what are we expecting of Aquinas on Friday night?
Well, they are a very athletic team. They have very big skill kids that are good football players. They're pretty big up front on their offensive line. They're an impressive outfit. I think they're very good defensively. I see a lot of athletic kids. They do have some size. I would characterize them as a team that they do so many different formations. It's amazing to me how they can even get kids to line up correctly. I wouldn't even venture a guess as to how many formations I've seen in the multiple games that I've watched, preparing for them. But you also start realizing that they also have a few things that they do out of each formation, right? And as you watch, you start understanding, what they're doing. And they do some things conceptually, I think, that are very, very good. I think they're very well coached. Both sides of the ball. They're well coached. So I think it was a challenge for us to, look at what they're doing. And when you literally have like a vast array of plays, like you're going to practice every play one time. That's not how we're going to approach it. But I mean, they literally do so many different plays out of so many, different looks. But when you start boiling it down, there's a few things they do out of their looks and getting our kids ready for the main things that they're going to see. They also do some they're really good in the screen game. They have a multitude of screens, and they kind of have, some things in common. For our kids, if we get into looking in the backfield at stuff, then it's going to be problematic. If we believe the line will always be truthful to you, because you'll see people taking off, setting up the screen and recognizing that's going to be a big deal. We have several things that I'm not going to divulge, that we're going to try to do defensively, obviously, to try to stop them in all facets of what they're doing. So, but they do a lot of stuff now. They're going to get, from empty formations to, wildcat with three backs all stacked over the tight end, guard, tackle. They do a lot of different things. But I think it's going to be a great challenge. I think we have. I give our staff a lot of credit, because I think we made it fairly simple. Our plan is simple. It's not like they're going to have a million different things to try to keep track of. It's going to be, we got to watch some film and make sure kids understand what we want, and I feel very good about the way we're gonna play defense. Offensively, I see a team that has, again, they're very athletic. They have 3 really good defensive linemen, and they're a 3-4 team, and I think they have really, for the most part, sat in that 3-4, and not a lot of people have had a lot of success running the ball at them. From what I've seen, anyway, right? They've had some, they haven't had a lot of close games. I don't think they've had a ton of adversity. I feel like they haven't really faced that, and I think that's an advantage for us, because we've been in a couple couple grinders. The Prescott game was certainly, I think, a grinder, and obviously the Altoona game was a heck of a game. Altoona kept coming back. But I also think I look at us then and I look at us now and I look at a little bit how we're doing things differently. And I feel really, really good about our team and where we're at and how things are gonna shake out for us on Friday down there at lacrosse.
So like when they go from one formation to the next, is it just kind of the same personnel, just different formations? Do they mass sometimes?
They have, I would say they probably have 8, maybe 10 different personnel groupings. So they're playing a lot of different kids. They play a ton of different kids, but the same kids are always in certain formations, and they rotate through all those different things. They do a nice job. I mean, they got a lot of, they get a lot of kids playing, and they've destroyed a lot of people. But I think I would be negligent to not say I don't know that they're playing a lot of great teams in their league. I mean, it's.
So I haven't dove deep into who they play, but they are technically a D5 school, correct? That's bumped up to D4. So are they like a D5 conference then too, or
D4 mostly?
Okay.
Yeah, mostly D4 schools. A couple D5s. GT is a D5.
West Salem.
Oh yeah, well West Salem is one of the better teams in the league, and that was a
close game.
It was a close game. It was 20-13, and that's a game where West Salem had a punt blocked on them early, and Aquinas took it back, and Aquinas was comfortable at up 20, and then West Salem from about the halfway through the second quarter on played very well with them, and the final was 13-20. It was a good game. I would, West Salem's they're a good team. They're a solid team. Osceola's a very solid team too. Not that they're exactly the same, but so I also think that this will be fun. I don't think they've seen anybody up front that's as athletic as we are on the defensive line, to be honest. I think that's a thing where I think we'll have an advantage, and they might be a little bit bigger than we are up front, on the O-line, but I think they really want to throw the ball. That's what they want to do. So we're going to have to stop that, and it's going to be a great challenge because they are certainly talented. They're big. I mean, they got number 2 is 6'5", 200 receiver. Number 1 is it's Lee. He's the coach's son. 6'3", 195. Very talented kid. The best receiver might be number 17. He's got the most catches. I mean, they got a lot of really good skill. Got a nice tight end that's 6'3", 235. Nice looking kid. Good player.
From some of the numbers that Jeremy and Zach kind of shared too, it seems like they almost like Baldwin. They're very spread out.
They do.
If you can stop this person, you got a great chance of winning.
They definitely spread it.
It seems like I want to say they had like 10 different people, 10 or more that had a rushing touchdown or something like that. 13 possibly. And then on defense, there's like 11 or so different players have interceptions.
That's impressive.
Multiple different people with receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
They got 11 of those.
Again, there's athleticism all over. I mean, they're good.
Which can play in the fact of if you're playing in games when they're ahead a lot and
sure
get some subs in. But
right.
What I'm saying is it's kind of almost the same thing. Like, oh, hey, we've had games where we're stopping Colby Russell. We're going to let someone else beat us. I don't think that's going to be the case come Friday.
Definitely not.
It's going to be
absolutely
a team effort on both sides.
Without a doubt. I think there are a lot of parallels, in terms of spreading the ball around. And that's a very accurate statement.
So back on the road. So it's been a while since we've been on the road. It'll be the first long road trip of the year, I guess, if you will. We went to GET, which is some decent distance. But what's game plan for Friday? What's Friday shaking out like? Are we get out of school early to get down there?
Yeah.
I suppose I have to kind of
get
down there.
But, sure. I don't have the exact time, but I would assume we'll probably leave, between 2 and 2:15. it's probably 2.5 hours on a bus down there, get there a little before 5, 4:45, something like that. I know that UW lacrosse practices at the stadium, so you can't go on the field until after 5:15. We wouldn't do that anyway. I mean, maybe if you got there early, you could go walk around the field, but that's not going to be an option because of their practice. So, we'll do our normal thing. We'll meet and get out on the field. And, we played there. I don't know if these kids did. Maybe some of them remember, because that would have been Cal Smith's year, so that was like 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So when these kids were sophomores, some of them, traveled down and played at UW lacrosse. As we played Kewaskum week 1.
Yep.
Pardon me. It's a great setup. It's an awesome place to play, and we're certainly looking forward to it, man. We can't wait. I really do feel great about our team. It's just we're a really balanced team. We practice well. The kids care a lot, and I think we're going to be able to do some things, up front athletically that might be a little different and be an advantage for us. And no disrespect to them, because they are without a doubt one of the best teams that are left in the state of Wisconsin. There's no doubt in my mind. But that's what you want to be, right? I mean, last year we were fortunate enough to make it to the state final, okay? And we played, against a lot of good teams last year. And, offensively, I felt like we always were able to move the ball. Even at Camp Randall, we moved the ball. We kind of beat ourselves by turning it over, and that's football. So I look at this year's team, and I have a hard time understanding how we wouldn't be able to do that again. So that's what we're going in, very confident and very optimistic. So,
and it helps having, again, been there. Maybe some of these players didn't play last year, but they were there. They were down at Camp Randall. They got to experience the long travel to freedom, the adversity of being behind there early, but yet come away victorious. Then the long travel, was it
Medford against
Winneconne. Again, a team very potent. Both those teams, I think they play each other this week.
They do, right? Yeah, it's Freedom
Winneconne as well. And then obviously the trip down to Madison. So they experienced that. They experienced the winning and got that edge. So we did mention how Aquinas is a D5 school playing up to D4. The victory Friday night meant that Baldwin next year will now go from D4 to D3. Obviously, a long ways away, but there are not too many D3 schools in our area. But being a public school, I know of one other that I can think off the top of my head that's bumped up for sure, being Rice Lake. Very successful program last few years, and state couple times, 2 years ago they went to state.
Yeah.
And obviously, depending on how far you go this year, would affect even the following year of potentially either get back to 4 or 3, what you're in. But that says something about the program.
It does. It does. No, I mean it's the rules, right? And it seems a little funny to me that you could be elevated when you've never won a state championship, but that's the rules, right? In some years, you could certainly make the argument that the path in Division III to advance might be easier than Division IV. Division IV has been a freaking gauntlet for a number of years, and I think this year is exactly the same. There are, there's 8 teams left. I'll tell you what, there may be 6 of them that could absolutely win the state title, just depending on how things go. And if you played this 8-team tournament a couple times, you might not have the same winner twice. That's just the way I see the thing going. But to be in Division III, I think we got to look at that as a positive thing. It is a sign that you've had some good success. I don't think anybody is going to back down from the challenge of being Division III. I think it should foster more confidence and should make you want to sharpen the iron even more to keep getting better, because that's what it's about. Just trying to be the best that we can possibly be, so we haven't really even talked. I haven't mentioned a thing to the kids I mean, some of them are probably watching and saying, what are we talking about?
Well, I mean, again,
it's just
it's next year.
It's next year. It's
something to bring up. It's cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's. I get why you guys had mentioned it, and I think I do. But like you said, it is so freaking far off my radar right now. It doesn't even that's like 10,000 things back on my mind of what I think is important now.
So with what we kind of talked about prior to going live too, was the biggest difference is the two-way players.
Yeah.
That being said, is Aquinas, are they all a lot two-way players? Do they kind of, are we going to see both sides of the ball from them?
They have fewer two-way players than we do. They do play some of their guys both ways. A pretty decent number of them, I would say, probably they probably have 5 or 6 that play an awful lot both ways. But they also do it kind of like we do, where they'll have a kid that maybe plays half the time on offense, but they play all the time on defense. And they're like I said, I'm not kidding when I say they have 7, 8, 9 different personnel groups. So you're going to see kids coming in and out. So that keeps kids in the game, which I think is a good idea. They do different things with different personnel groups. So,
and like you said, they might play both sides, but not 100%. Like,
yeah,
I made a comment on Friday night, like, oh, Luke Jenkins out. Is he okay? And he's like, well, he plays every other series. I mean, to have a weapon like that you can say, hey, you're playing defense full time, and as potent as you are on offense, we got someone with that on here that can play, that slides in and doesn't skip a beat.
Yeah, well, with our H position, they run so many motions that we have to have at least 2 H's all the time. So JT Dockel and Luke have both. Yeah, they play pretty close to even snaps. Luke maybe takes a few more because he usually starts them, but JT's obviously very good too. I mean, he's he had a little injury at the beginning of the year, and now, man, he's running well, and he's really a player that's been ascending, a smart player that's going to be one of the key guys for us against lacrosse.
So Friday night, 7:00, lacrosse kickoff. I know there's a fan bus or a student bus going down for sure. I won't be surprised if there is a fan bus or something like that for the parents. But hopefully, again, as much as Jeremy wants the viewership on Blackhawk TV, hopefully we can fill the stands down there. Is that one-sided stands, if I remember correctly?
It is. Yeah, but it's big. I mean,
right. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of that. We don't have fans. You won't have fans behind you.
Right.
Correct?
I don't think you do. Yeah, I think you're right.
Correctly.
If they do, it must be pretty minimal because I don't really remember that.
Just for some reason, I think of it that way. But anyway, make the trip down there. Make the trip down lacrosse. Hopefully that finds Blackhawk victorious. A fun bus ride back. Nothing better than a long, fun bus ride back. And then after that, it's all neutral site.
Yep.
I think we do play the winner. The winner of our game plays the winner of the Winneconne Freedom game.
Right.
So perhaps if it finds the Blackhawks in there, perhaps back to the same place, Medford again maybe, or
who knows,
something like that.
Sure.
Again, we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there.
Yeah.
But any also players that we forgot to mention that stood out? Jimmy Kropelnicki had his first receiving touchdown, I believe.
Yeah.
Of the season.
Jimmy
rushing touchdown.
Yeah, Jimmy's played great. I mean, he's definitely one of the best kids we got. Love him on both sides of the ball. Kid loves football. He's tough. He never misses anything. Never misses practice. Just a joy to coach him. Jimmy's fantastic. As is. I mean, I really have had so many years where we've had fantastic kids, and it's special to have kids that are as bought in as this group is bought in, and that have worked so hard and they sacrifice for each other. And there's a lot of really good chemistry, and I'm very proud of those guys and the way they handle themselves and the way because the culture is really your players. And man, those guys are doing a fantastic job.
That's why I think the few years I've really kind of been around more around the team is you never really had that that person that's all about themselves.
No.
You've had team players that just will do anything for someone else, and if they happen to end up in the end zone, it's because of the other players, or it's just, and that builds, again, a program that allows you to advance up and advance in the playoffs. And you see all the fun stuff in the community going around, watch parties for games and stuff like that. It's just the community is really behind the team. So
we certainly feel very supported.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And we have amazing support, amazing fans, and very, very fortunate.
So that being said, congrats on our victory, and best of luck down lacrosse. We'll be back here next week, and hopefully we're talking about preparing for the next matchup.
That sounds great to me.
Great.